Marriage is to be held in honor by all. And so just not married people, but singles as well. The young and the old. It's applicable to everyone. If you're especially feeling the pressure of Singleness Awareness Day today, let me encourage you that singleness is a gift just like marriage is. To embrace it just as everybody does, that you follow hard after God, whether you're single or you're married. And it's to strive to honor marriages around you. We all have an influence on each other, and we can have an influence on marriage as well. Hopefully you've picked up the outline in the back this morning. If you haven't, you can get one. There's plenty of them. That'll also be on the screen behind me as you want to follow along this morning. The intent is to paint a picture this morning that our culture does not. To paint marriage as a beautiful thing. And just not to do that, but then to explore some practical ways as to how you can encourage the marriages around you. That's what we've been praying for this weekend, that through the date night and through the teaching and through this time, that the marriages in our church family would be strengthened and encouraged. Because if you look outside the walls, if you gander at what the world says, it's pretty discouraging. And you may be thinking, I can't have an impact on that. You look at the divorce rate, you look at the redefinition of marriage, and you think, I can't change it. Well, I'm not asking you to change the way our culture thinks, but realizing that you do have the ability to influence your marriage or a marriage that's close to you. That you may not be able to change the needle on how the world thinks, but you can change it the way those around you are interacting with the idea of marriage. You have to grasp it. You actually can make a difference here. Just not in the marriages around you, but the way GlacierView community perceives marriage, by the way we flesh it out. And so we're going to honor marriage this morning. I want to talk to you from an encouraging and a thriving perspective on marriage, because we need to be equipped to honor marriage. Why? Well, going back to the Hebrew verse. We need to understand that every follower of Christ is called to esteem marriage as highly valuable. That's why it says, let marriage be held in honor among all, and let the marriage bed be undefiled. That means every Christian, young, old, single, married, we all esteem marriage as highly valuable because we're ministers of the gospel of Jesus. And this is part of that. Being a gospel minister includes preparing singles for marriage, encouraging spouses, equipping parents, teaching relationship formation even to 4-year-old kids, okay? Preparing our children for relationships in life. And there's 2 reasons why pastors like to avoid sermons on this. One of it is because of the singleness awareness. But singles need to also be equipped to honor marriage. It says this in Hebrews. One of the keys as to how you can view whether you view marriage as a single as honorable is when maybe your friends are getting engaged. Do you say congratulations, or do you say, are you sure? Think about that. Where are you with that in honoring marriage? Because the Lord's asking us to do that. The other one would be with the single parenting situation. But if you think about this deeply, even single parents need to honor marriage because they want to do that for their children. They want to set their children up for a great marriage, regardless of how theirs went, even if it was through widowing. Parents play a huge role in this. Fundamental. We can either set our kids up for success in this area in their view of honoring marriage, or we don't. And some of it's by the way we teach and encourage, but the majority of it's the way we live, the way we engage our own marriage, maybe the way we talk about it from the culture's perspective. So first, for those of you that are married, okay? For those of you who are married, you need to esteem your marriage as highly valuable. First off, when it talks about Hebrews here, when it talks about the marriage bed be undefiled, it means to avoid infidelity. That's what it's saying. But let me go a little further, okay? Jesus said in Luke 12:34, he said, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." It says a lot. And that Jesus wasn't necessarily talking about marriage here, but he's talking about the characteristics of life. And so it's applicable here. Do we see that? Do we see the investing in one another? Because your life is an overflow of your heart. Okay? So are you investing your time and your energy into your marriage? Because your heart is into it. And that's why the expression is said, home is where the heart is. It's where your investment is. It's where your mind is. So can we see that? Can we see that your heart is into marriage? Can we esteem each other as highly valuable? Is your time investment there? 3 practical ways to think through this. One is to think and to recognize that your spouse has God's fingerprints over them. Okay? That God put the two of you together. Recognize that. See that. Be encouraged in that. It was no mistake by any means. You can honor it by keeping your vows to one another. Nicole has taken our vows and she went back and she typed them up, and now they're on 2 pictures right above our bed. In reminder of what my vows were to her, to encourage me to keep doing that. That's what I vowed. That's what I want to do. If you're not sure what your vows were, go back and maybe watch the videotape if you have. If not, just look up wedding vows, okay? Those are the ones you probably said, and they're good ones. Another way would be to honor marriage by gifting your children with a mom and dad to love each other. Let them see it. Let them see that. It's okay for them to catch you smooching in the kitchen, okay? It's okay. It's a good thing. In fact, it's not wrong to kiss in church, just so you know, all right? It's fine. We esteem marriage as a body together. Now, everyone, married or not, we're called to esteem every marriage, and this is going to come from the book of Song of Solomon. We're not going to dive in it real hard this morning, but I went to a conference with the Song of Solomon. It's a great book to look at marriage. And this is really the core of today's message, okay? And the fact is that all of us need to be good backup singers to the duet of marriage, okay? You need to think of marriage as a duet in need of great backup singers, and you are those backup singers. See, the Song of Solomon, when you look at that book, it's understood that it's a duet between King Solomon and his wife, or at the very least, a shepherd boy and his bride. Okay, throughout the book, they're singing their love lyrics back and forth to each other, but there's also the backup singers. Okay, it's just not the duet, the husband and wife singing to each other. There's the chorus, or what you may see in your Bibles labeled as the daughters of Jerusalem. Okay? And so you have these backup singers investing in the husband and wife as you go through the book of Song of Solomon. They're harmonizing with this couple. They're supporting this couple. They're encouraging this couple. You see it first off in chapter 1, verse 4. Where they sing, "We will exalt and rejoice in you. We will praise your love." They're embracing the love that the husband and wife have. You see, from the very moment that the woman expresses attraction and desire for her man in chapter 1, to their conflict after their honeymoon, these backup singers praise the love of this couple. Their harmony reminds us to be advocates for marriage itself, just not for the husband or just not for the wife. You see, every chorus they sing is 100% for the two of them, for the duet, for the marriage. The duet or the chorus, the backup singers, they know love when they see it, and they seek to build it up, not to tear it down. And so, like the couple in the Song of Solomon, your marriage is surrounded by backup singers. And some of the voices, frankly, that are there may not be encouraging. They may be leading you to doubt. Others, they encourage you. The bad backup singers, they bring discord to your duet. they divide you apart. But good backup singers, they're going to say things like this. These are the people you want to surround your marriage with. They think about the new life you have in Christ. And if Jesus can do that, then Jesus can also bring new life to your marriage. That same power. For some reason, we think that's not going to happen. God's all-powerful. He can do whatever he wants. It also drives us to pray. And so somebody that is praising your marriage might say, hey, let's begin praying. Let's begin praying for a marriage miracle to take place. They may suggest, like we suggested as a church last year, hey, go to the Weekend Remember. Or whatever resources are out there to gather them. That's what the back table is for this morning. It's been put together to honor marriage, to encourage marriage. Some of the resources you actually already have access to through our digital online library called Right Now Media. You can go there after the church service today and begin diving into some resources to encourage your marriage. At the very least, a good backup singer might say, hey, let's grab a cup of coffee. Why don't you come over for dinner? And we'll just chat about what's going on. So if you're married and you recognize these voices in your life, let me encourage you to mute the backup singers that are causing you to come off key and to crank the volume up on those that are encouraging the duet in your life. And recognizing that we're all backup singers. We need to be the voice that people want to turn up, not tune out. We want to be the person that's talked about in Proverbs 27:17. We don't often talk about it in marriage, but it's still true here. Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. So find a marriage you can sharpen. Find people that will sharpen your marriage to be your backup singers. It could be a single. If you're a spouse, you can encourage another marriage. Parents encourage the marriage of their children's. The truth of the matter is that whether you're single or married, young or old, you're a backup singer. You're casting a voice into people's marriages, either by being mute or by encouraging. So, what can you do? If you're a backup singer, going back to the Song of Solomon, you've got the couple singing their song to each other. You've got the chorus, the daughter of Jerusalem, feeding into it. We have marriages in our church. Lots of us are married. All of you. We're all to honor marriage. You're all backup singers. How do we encourage? How do we be the chorus that feeds that duet to encourage them? So 5 ways. Okay? 5 quick ways. First, honor your child's marriage. We're going to start from young and go to old. One of the ways you can do that is to paint a positive, a special future for marriage. Esteem it with them. Okay? Really what you're doing is you're raising, as a parent, a future spouse. And dads, some of you, you're going to walk your daughter down an aisle. It could be this church. Okay, we'll have to change the pews, but you'll walk your daughter down an aisle, right? And sometimes what happens at the front is a father will give those final words to her daughter. And those words are always very striking. To listen to what a father will say is his last words to his daughter. A lot of times they deal with marriage. Don't wait until you're here with your daughter at the altar about to hand her off to say those words. Start saying those words at a young age to her. Start encouraging and painting that beautiful picture of what marriage will be for her before you're here. When it comes to the book of Proverbs, it's generally viewed as a book of wisdom. And the thought line is that you view it from like a father talking to a son. And lots of times a father will say things to his son that deal with life and relationships and how to view God. Some of those conversations, they take place at the end of the bed. Tucking your kids in at night. For me, they're young, so Mason's 4, and I sit at the end of his bed, and if there's something needs to be talked about, we talk. We're not talking about the deep things of marriage yet, but we'll get there. okay? But that's the viewpoint. And so when you read this verse here, think as a father talking to his son at the foot of a bed. That's the relationship here. And he says, let your foundation be blessed and rejoice in the wife of your youth. What does that mean? In other words, he's saying, hey, my son, when you're a young man, you're going to fall in love with a woman and you're going to get married, and I want that for you. That is a good thing. That is normal. That's what's to be done. You can praise even to your son and esteem marriage in that way, setting him up for that. Now, sometimes your son or daughter, maybe more your daughter, might come home and say, I think I'm in love, right? And like the comedian said, what comes out is, you're not in love, you don't know what love is what your father and I have. And daughter thinks, well, I don't want that, right? And that's the end of it. Well, that's not esteeming love. It's not honoring marriage very well. Let me encourage you, if that happens, to maybe have this mindset, and this might maybe go too far. You have to put it age appropriate. But Dr. Gary Smalley, he says it this way, that if that happens, then ask the question, do you think he's the one? And if it comes back, yeah, then you say, all right, well, hey, let's sit down, let's start making a budget, and this weekend we'll go look at model houses and, begin to dream with her or him about what that could look for. You don't want to reject those feelings. Why? Well, didn't God create your daughter? Didn't God put those feelings in her? He did. So don't reject that. Embrace that. You also encourage your children's future marriages by just not talking about the greatness of marriage, but also then the responsibilities of marriage. That's why Dr. Gary Smalley goes into, hey, let's make a budget and let's go begin to look at houses, right? There's a reality there. And so by teaching them that one day they're gonna leave the house and they might go to school, they're gonna get a place of their own, they might get married, they might start a family, and talk to them about the realities of that, what that practically looks like from a life standpoint as an adult, the responsibilities that come with it, and setting those milestones up so that they're not going into them fearfully, but knowing the keys to look for, to know that they're guiding their life's paths right. Doing these type of things, what that does is it embraces them, it gives them the encouragement. It says to them, even if you don't say these words, hey, you've got this. You can do this. We believe in you. And those words, do communicating that to your children. It doesn't stop when they're 18. Those words might need to be said at a phone call when your child's 23 and not sure where to go. We believe in you. We encourage you. You can do this. Sometimes that's what they need to hear. So that's how you do it when they're young. Set them up for a good vision of marriage. When they get older, show them the responsibility of marriage. But also then, we honor our adult children, okay, when they're adults, their marriage by separating from him or her relationally, emotionally, and financially. Oftentimes, this verse is read at the altar of a marriage, okay? It's known as a marriage verse, but this morning, it's a parenting verse. Okay, think of it in light of that. It might even be perceived now maybe more as a parenting verse than a marriage verse, and you'll see why here in a moment. It says, therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And normally think of it, okay, it's the responsibility of husband and wife. Well, parents, you can influence this in a positive way or a negative way in a big fashion. Okay, first off, notice that it says, a man. Okay, a man shall leave his father and mother. Now, it's not in contrast to a woman. The point is that it's not a child. Okay, a child doesn't leave his father and mother. It's a man. And so, as a parent, you have set your children up to leave home as adults. You didn't wait till they were 18 and said, okay, lay out for them what they're to do in life. No, you've been preparing them the entire way to mature them so that when they do leave, that they are a man, that they are a woman. Parents bless the marriage of their children by preparing them for the responsibility of work, which is normally what we think of. We'll teach you how to work. You're going to get a job. But don't forget to do the same thing when it comes to marriage. And then release them to go into their own home and to start their own family. One of the ways you do that is you recognize that you're no longer the priority relationship. Okay? Him or her, your son or daughter, they have a new relationship priority. Now, this doesn't mean you're cut off. Okay? It doesn't mean your relationship's over. What it means is they no longer obey you. Doesn't mean they're stopped honoring you. They'll continue to honor you the rest of your life. That's what Ephesians talks about. But the relationship is just different now. You're now the cheering section for their marriage. Practically then, don't smother them. All right, don't smother them. You can smother the grandchildren, that's fine. Okay. When your child calls, and maybe there's been a conflict, and you recognize it's your daughter or your son, don't take sides. Realize the best thing for your daughter, your son, is that you honor their marriage. And so when that phone call comes in, you become a great backup singer by advocating for their marriage. And don't take sides. In the Song of Solomon's, sides were never taken. Don't encourage, don't instigate a spouse bashing. It's not honoring marriage, and it's not going to help your child's marriage. There was a pastor, and he was doing premarital counseling with a couple. It's not anybody that's in here, just so you know. And towards the end of the premarital counseling, he was giving some of the practical things, before he's about to marry this couple at the altar. And the day of the wedding, the mom of the son came up to the pastor and said, "Hey, I don't agree with you when you tell my son that he's to stop loving his mother." Okay? And the pastor simply replied, "I think you've misunderstood what I was telling your son. All I told your son was to stop calling you every day." There's some separation that needs to happen there. For maybe more for the husbands, you need to understand that their emotional bond needs to be created with the wife. It's no longer with the mother, okay? That the things you think about your day, your work day, the conversation you have with your friends, maybe the fears of the future, that the first place that you want to run to is not back home. It's to your bride. For parents, it means that you want your sons for them to go to their wife and have those conversations. They might come later on for advice. But if they haven't talked to their spouse first, direct them. Tell them where to go. See, the spouse needs to be the emotional go-to person at this point in life. And then maybe the hardest one might be the financial aspect, or a blessed nation. And so to watch a young couple struggle financially when maybe you have the means to help them, you think I can help them out. You can. But think about it, it may not be the best. Think back to your young marriage and maybe the struggles that you had financially and how those greatly dove great and deep roots into your relationship and into your understanding of how to live your rest of your life. And say, okay, I'm going to let my new son and daughter that's married now go through this. Let them buy used cars. Let them get free furniture. Let them pay rent. Okay? You can take them out to dinner, but don't buy their clothes. Okay? There's things to do and things not to do. Sometimes you need to separate financially as well. Again, you can spoil the grandkids. Don't spoil the adult children. You see, mom and dad, your responsibility with your adult children is to help that two become one. It's a parenting verse for now. Think of it from those perspectives. When they do get married, We can honor newlywed and seasoned couples by encouraging quality time. Think of it this way, that every marriage needs a daily delay, a weekly withdrawal, and a yearly abandon. Okay? Spending quality time together, it actually sends a message because it goes back to where your heart is. What it says is, I value marriage. I honor our marriage. It sends something just not to the spouse. It says something to your children. It says something to the other family members that you have. It says something to our church family, to our community. When you as a couple spend time together. So what's a daily delay? A daily delay is that time in your day. And your couples probably know when it is. And it's 15 to 20 minutes. And it's that time when you check in and it's not this way. Okay, and it's not this way. It's just face to face. 15 minutes, 20 minutes checking in. That daily delay. That weekly withdrawal, that's date night. Okay? That's what happened on Friday. It's that one time in the week that you say, okay, we're going to spend some time together. Date night. Or the annual withdrawal. Taking the time sometime through the year and saying, hey, let's go from here. Okay? Let's get away for a little bit. They did this in the Song of Solomon. It happened. You see, in chapter 1, verse 2, the guy and the girl, they're dating. Okay, and let's face it, earlier in the relationship, okay, it's easier to maybe enjoy that quality time. And in chapter 2, you can see that the man, that he's excited to pick up his girl for the date. All right, now the girl expresses it, okay, the man's feelings. When she says this in chapter 2, verse 10, this is what she says. We don't talk like this anymore, but you could, okay, it might be romantic. My beloved speaks and says to me, arise, my love, my beautiful one, and come away. That's what the man was saying to his to-be bride. All right, she's looking forward to this date. All right, and he's going to come pick her up, and they're going to go away from the house. They're going for this weekend, this daily or this weekly date night. Now, reality is that was probably easy because this example is when they're dating. Okay, I don't have an example of it later. It might be there. I don't have it because the truth is that doing this, it takes work. And it probably takes more work the longer you're married. I mean, let's face it, the breath of a new relationship just feeds spending time with each other. But after a few years, maybe it takes a little bit more work and reality sets in and you're just frankly a little more honest with each other because you know who each other are. So this video is an example. I'm hoping it's an extreme example. Maybe this is going to point out some things. Hopefully this really isn't the case.
These pants make me look fat.
What? Look like a supermodel. You look fantastic.
Do these pants make me look fat?
We could get you a treadmill for Christmas if you really wanted one. Hey, I heard the car pull up. Let me get one of these bags.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. Honey, there's somebody at the door. Not so newlyweds.
You look really handsome tonight.
It's only because I have to keep up with my beautiful wife.
You're gonna at least not want a hat.
For the pizza joint, not a rehearsal dinner.
Not so newlyweds.
Honey, you missed your turn.
Sorry, I'll turn around.
No worries, you can be a little late.
I can't believe you just missed your turn again. Do you want to drive?
Sure.
You know what? Just get us there.
Not so newlyweds.
Excuse me.
No worries. It's kind of cute.
Sorry. Well, thanks, honey, for helping me with the dishes.
The quicker we get done with this, the sooner I can eat your delicious cookie.
Would you mind helping me with the dishes?
Yeah, I'm just gonna finish the sports section real quick.
So what you're saying is you never want to have sex with me again, because that's what it sounds like.
Not so newlyweds.
Hopefully that's the extreme. But let's face it, things do change over time, and that's why the date night challenge is so important. The date night challenge, it was created to encourage marriage, to strengthen marriage, to honor marriage. Maybe you need a date night challenge. Maybe you need to go away this morning and say, okay, the next 4 weeks, I'm just going to commit to a month. The next 4 weeks, I'm going to plan 4 dates. Now here's the interesting thing, okay? And you might think you just want to surprise your wife or whatever. Don't, okay? Because scientists say that the anticipation, the planning of the date is more great than the date itself. Okay, so begin to think through, what is the theme of the date going to be? Men, you got to think about this. Okay, and wives, you can surprise your husband too, you know. Think through, what's the theme of the night? Okay, it might be we want to be active together, or we want to have drama involved, or we want to play games or whatnot. Then what is the activity of it? What are you then going to do in that theme? And just not that, but then think this way. Think, what's the goal? Okay, have an intention for that date. Be intentional, just not about the date night, but just don't check it off a list. Boom, 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 there's 4, I'm done, I'm good to go, and you're back to not so newlywed. Okay? Think through and be intentional about what you want to achieve in that date. Now, there's 2 common excuses to this, and typically they go hand in hand. Normally, it's, I've got kids and I'm broke. Normally hand in hand, right? Well, here are some practical things then. All of us being backup singers to each other's marriages, you can encourage quality time for other couples around you by presenting them with a gift card. And it might be a gift card to go somewhere. It might be a gift card for I'll watch the kids. And if you're a grandparent, then you get the cherry on top. It's go out to dinner and I'll take the grandkids. You get grandkid time. Good for you. Everybody wins, right? Honor marriage that way. You can also, if you don't have family around, you consider a dating co-op, right? What's a dating co-op? Dating co-op is where 2 or 3 or however many couples get together and decide, okay, I'm going to give you my kids this night, and we're going to go out. And later on in the week, I'm going to take your kids, and you guys go out. It's a dating co-op. It's a way just not to get your date nights in, but to support marriages, be a good backup singer to those that are around you. Doing that the reason why date night is so important is because doing it can cause the marital crisis to be subsided, to be bypassed. Because a lot of times they're created just because you're not spending time together. Okay, it's like this. It's like going to the doctor so that you don't end up in the hospital. The truth of the matter is that you might find yourself in the hospital. You might find yourself in a marital crisis, or maybe involved in someone's marital crisis. So one of the ways that you honor marriage is to honor couples in crisis by advocating for both spouses, just not one, okay? Every time that this chorus, this Daughters of Jerusalem, are talked about in the Song of Solomon, they esteem marriage as highly valuable. And so in chapter 5, this couple, they're newlywed, all right? And after their honeymoon, there's a little bit of conflict that finds their way in their marriage. The woman, she's finding remorse after this fight that happens, and she's actually going in search of her husband. She wants to go find her husband, all right? And along the way, she runs into her girlfriends. She runs into those girls that are closest to her. Those are the backup singers in her life. These are the Daughters of Jerusalem. And here's what's said. In Solomon 6:1, the chorus says, "Where has your beloved gone, O most beautiful among women? Where has your beloved turned, that we may seek him with you?" Okay? Notice they didn't say, hey, you deserve better treatment than Matt. No. Good backup singers, they never initiate or engage in a spouse basking session. Instead, they say, hey, what can we do to help? We'll seek him with you. Why? Because they're on the reconciliation mission. They're for the marriage. They're not for one or the other. They're for the two, the one flesh. So, What do you do when you get that phone call? And somebody's in a marital crisis? First, understand, you're their first line of defense. And that's a huge thing. Okay? In that, being that first line of defense, you need to listen to and validate their feelings, but you don't want to condone bad decision making. Okay, that could be happening. Most importantly, you probably need to remind them of truth. But in it all, keep this goal in mind, to keep that line of communication, the line of first defense, open. Okay, if that gets severed, then the people in the front lines, they don't have any support. They need that support. Second, you can point them in the right direction. If you don't feel adequately equipped, you can offer to find them marital counseling or to say, hey, let's go to a weekend remember together. Whatever you have, whatever resources at your fingertips, begin to shovel them their way. Offer the support that way. Doing so, you join, just like the daughters of Jerusalem here do for this young bride. You begin that reconciliation mission with them, supporting the marriage of the two. Third, remind them, just like Jesus changed you, made you a new creation, that same power is available for your marriage. Doing that can help people through your crisis. Doing that beforehand can help your marriage become a crisis. Last, young marriage to old marriage. All of us esteeming marriage. I think there's a tip we can get from our senior couples. Okay? Where are our senior couples? How many of you have been married like 40 years? Anybody here 40 years? 2 couples? Awesome. Good job for you guys. So here's a quote from a senior. The quote is, in our day, when something was broke, you didn't return it. You fixed it. That's the message from those that have been married for many years. That's why we honor senior couples by recognizing their commitment and following their example. Now, why have these couples been married for so long? I didn't ask them. Okay, we could ask them, it'd be fun. But I don't want to put them on the spot. Now, our society might say, well, they were probably compatible. They had the eHarmony test back 50 years ago, and they took the test and they were compatible. So, yeah, they're married. They might say, well, they know love. Or they might say, well, they were soulmates, and so all of our society is running around trying to figure out compatibility. Are we soulmates, and do you know what love is? Well, the correct answer as to why older couples stay married is because of their character. You see, commitment in marriage flows from character. That when you make a decision to honor your vows and to love one another in what? Sickness and health? Richer and poorer, good times and in bad, till what? Till one of you dies. That is the commitment. That's why Dr. Scott Stanley says this. He says, commitment is making the choice to give up all other choices. It's pretty heavy. You see, commitment does not look for greener grass. Commitment, it waters its own grass to become green. It doesn't return it. It fixes it. Character trumps compatibility in thriving marriages. You see, when you look at these television ads or these TV commercials and they're trying to say, hey, you need compatibility, you need chemistry, those are the keys to success, not true. Not true. It's character, it's commitment to each other. You see, compatibility is not something you find or discover or test for. It's something you create over a long period of time. 50 years. That's why you need the character and the commitment that flows from it to stay with it. In Ecclesiastes 9:9, Solomon said this. He said, enjoy life with the wife whom you love all the days of your vain life that he has given you under the sun, because that is your portion in life and in your toil at which you toil under the sun. Lots of times, we think we have to choose between wife and life. That's not the case. The Song of Solomon is, or what Solomon is saying here in Ecclesiastes, is that you can enjoy both your wife and life at the same time. Stay committed to each other. Have that character. You will grow that compatibility, that chemistry, that love, that soulness through time. And so we honor the vision that our senior couples have set up for us, those that have been married for a while. So if you're a parent, going back to thinking about esteeming marriage, to honoring all marriage that we're all called to. If you're a parent, set up your children for a great marriage. Okay, take some of those things that you need to work on. Okay, see those verses as a parental verse. Okay, rejoice in marriage. Show them a healthy marriage. Set them up for marriage one day, just not for work one day. Go further than that. If you're married, and you say, well, my marriage is a little off key, do something about it. Do it now. Recognize it now. Start date night. Have a conversation with someone. Surround yourselves with good backup singers for your marital duet. Why is marriage so important? It's important to you. It's important to your spouse, yes. We say it's important to children, yes. It's important to my family, yes. It's much bigger than that. It's a vision of Christ and the church. It sends a message to our entire community, the way we conduct our marriages, the investment of time. Think of it from this perspective. We've been talking about the book of Philippians, and one of the things we want to strive for is that our life would be considered as an advance of the gospel. That's what it does. Our marriages can advance the gospel. The way we view marriage, the way we honor marriage, like it says in Hebrews, can advance the gospel. Jesus is proclaimed through strong marriages. So I hope you understand that. I hope you leave today just not with the understanding, but then some practical ways. Think of it from this perspective. You're a backup singer. Okay? Either in your own marriage, in somebody else's marriage, everyone. Single, married, young, old, doesn't matter. Everyone's a backup singer. How can you tangibly, this week, honor marriage? What's one thing you can leave from today and say, okay, I'm going to do this for another marriage? It could be a number of things. It could just be an encouraging text. It could be, hey, let's grab a cup of coffee. Let's have a couple over for dinner. Let's send this couple on a date night. Let's start a dating co-op. Whatever it is for you, it's probably going to look different based on your season of life, where you're at. But do that, because Hebrews says that marriages be held in honor by all. Will you stand with me? Joy, come on up and lead us in a closing song, and let's pray as we strive to honor marriage as a church, as a family of God. Just not this morning, but this week and forever long. Lord, thank you that you desired marriage, that you planned marriage. Lord, thank you that you want it to be held in honor by all, just not those that are married. That the way we esteem and honor marriage has a lot to say about who we are, about how we love people. It goes back to even the gospel, that our marriages would thrive and bring success to the gospel going forth. Lord, thank you that we don't have to walk this earth alone, that we have your Holy Spirit to help us through this. Lord, would you reveal to us this morning what that tangible way is that we can honor marriage as we go forth this morning.